Welcome back to the Checking From Behind podcast, you beauties. I'm Zach, joined alongside Preston. And first off, I know that you were out of town a little bit.
Yeah.
How was the concert?
Oh, yeah. So I was in Toronto for the last couple days. Went down to see Green Day at the Rogers Center. It was a lot of fun. Green Day is one of my favorite bands. It was an awesome show. They had 3 opening acts. It was probably a 6-7 hour concert. I like being in the city of Toronto. It's a really cool city. Feels a lot like New York, but it's not as dirty as New York. The only thing I got to say about Toronto is the traffic is so freaking bad. Just for no good reason. Like, it could be like 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and you're going to be stuck in like bumper-to-bumper traffic.
It's bad. I remember when I went to Toronto back in 2019 for a Mariners and Blue Jays game. I'm a Seattle Mariners fan. And so it was dead stop traffic. Some dude tried to pull a U-turn in the middle.
U-turn on the highway?
Yeah. Well, it was like right next to Rogers.
Well, me and Chris went last year for the Blue Jays game. We missed the first inning because of the traffic. And we left like 2.5 hours early. I
went to a concert September 1st in Toronto. I'm like, I'm not driving there again. If we do, we're getting a hotel. We're parking. We're Ubering there. We're walking.
We had a hotel like right around the corner. It was at the Rogers Center, so it was right around the corner from the baseball field. So it wasn't too bad. Like, we got there, the concert started at 5:30. We got into town around like 2:30. So we had I made sure we had time to spare. I learned from my past mistakes.
You know what? Before we hop into actual hockey talk, I honestly kind of enjoy the inside of Scotiabank Arena in Toronto.
I mean, that's a cool arena too. I mean, I was only there once. I was there for a concert 2022, I believe. Didn't really get to see much of the arena itself. Rogers Center, though, the baseball field, that's a pretty dope thing. I like the whole district around that too. There's a lot of great restaurants, a lot of cool things to do, nice parks. I really think the city of Toronto is a pretty cool city. It's just the traffic is so freaking bad. It's almost a deal breaker for me. It
is honestly a great city. All right, so we're hopping into things with Brock Faber signed a long-term extension with the Minnesota Wild, 8-year by $8.5 million a year. My first impressions was, I'm not shitting. This is gonna turn into a players podcast. I don't want to shit on anybody, but Travis Konechny though needs to give his agent a raise because Brock Faber is getting less money than Travis Konechny.
But Konechny's a proven player in the league, though.
You're right.
I don't think these players have anything to do with each other. I think this is a good deal for the Wild.
It's great.
He had an awesome year. Arguably, he could have been Rookie of the Year last year. You can argue that what he did as a rookie defenseman might be a little bit more impressive than what Bedard did as a forward, because being a rookie defenseman is a lot harder than being a rookie forward. But Bedard was also on the worst team, probably the second worst team in the league, and he pretty much put the team on his back. But, Brock Faber, I think he's only going to get up from here. That's what a lot of teams are starting to do with these young defensemen. They seem as kind of franchise defensemen. Senators did that with Jake Sanderson, gave him an 8-year deal. I think it was just over $8 million. I think it's 8.0. Yeah. And then Owen Power got a long-term deal with the Sabres. Another one just over $8 million. I find it interesting that Faber got more than Sanderson and Power.
Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised though.
Yeah, I mean, the market goes up, the salary cap goes up, but I really like what the Wild are doing. I've been saying this, I think, since last summer. Once those Parise and Suter contracts, I think this is the last year they're going to have, it's $12 million dead cap between the two of them. I believe next year it goes down to $2 or $3 million combined.
You're going to have money to play with.
The next thing the Wild need to probably do is they need to get Kaprizov extended again, because I believe either next year or the year after his contract's coming up soon. I believe they planned it that way, though, because they knew these contracts were coming off the books, and they could give Kaprizov even more money, because he is the franchise player for that team, and I feel like they'll get that done. But I think the Wild are building something special. I don't know. I think they might be a year or two away from the playoffs still. Wouldn't shock me if they're competing for a wild card spot this year. But, I love what Bill Guerin's doing with the Wild. I think he's making a lot of really smart, calculated moves. They've been drafting well. And once they have some money to spend, it wouldn't shock me if they kind of went crazy in free agency the next couple of years. Get Kaprizov locked up to that long-term deal, and I could see them being a cup contender in 2 or 3 years.
Can you bring up the roster real quick? Because the Minnesota Wild are doing something that they've been mid for so long, ever since they bought out Parise and Suter. And
I mean, they were mid when they had Parise and Suter. They were like make the playoffs every year, but
and then
like, the furthest they ever got was the second round.
They've never gotten to the conference finals at all.
No, they did. They got like it was like their second or third year in the league. They had Marion Gaborik. Marion Gaborik. I don't think a lot of people remember how he was crazy when he was on the Wild. He still might be one of the best players, if not the best player the Wild franchise has ever had.
That's honestly, I kind of forgot about Bro Loki. But the Brock Faber contract, you compared it to the Sanderson and Owen Power contract. I'm totally with that. The Minnesota Wild, this team, have Philip Gustafsson coming up as a goaltender who is expecting to make a huge jump with Marc-Andre Fleury looking to be the backup. I mean, this team right now, like they're gonna put the puck in the back of the net, and if Philip Gustafsson can get back to how he played two seasons ago in 2023, 2023, like this team could be good, and this is why I have the Wild making the playoffs.
I still think they're a year away. I think at least a year away. I mean, just looking at their roster, I like the forward group they have. They have a good mix of younger players and some veterans. Their decor is, I think, a bit of a sour spot still. You know, Brock Faber is the youngest defenseman on that team by a long shot. He's 21 years old. But then the rest of the defensemen are all over the age of 30 except for Jake Middleton. So, Jarek Spurgeon, their captain, they give Bogosian a 2-year contract, decent veteran, John Merrill as well. But, I think they still got a little bit of work to do. They got to get a little bit younger defensively. But, Brock Faber, they see as that, that franchise number one defenseman. Obviously they think that, and they give him an 8-year deal. Krill the Thrill Kaprizov. Awesome play. I really like Matt Boldy, too. He's entering the first year of his long-term deal. Matt Boldy, he was like low-key one of my goats in my fantasy team. Like he's the reason why I ended up winning the championship last year in my fantasy hockey.
Stud.
Joel Eriksson-Ek, a very underrated center, in my opinion. Max Zuccarello, still a great player at 36. I think he's a really good fit in that wild card team. And then you got some good, tougher players like Marcus Foligno, Ryan Hartman. And then you got some young guys like Marco Rossi, He's still, developing as a player. I could see him being like a good second-line, third-line player. But I really like what the Wild are doing. I still think they're a year away, at least, from being a playoff team.
My thought is if they miss the playoffs this season, I won't be shocked. But this team underperformed mightily. They were without their captain, Jared Spurgeon, for most of last season after leaving the season early with the season-ending injury. But we'll see because he's 34, coming back from I don't know if it was an upper or lower body injury, but either way, it's going to take him longer to heal. And is he going to come back and be the same form that he was beforehand?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a question mark. But again, if the X factor is going to be Philip Gustafsson, but this Minnesota Wild team has the makings to be a wild card team. Probably going to be a first round exit, but they can sneak in, especially.
I could see them competing. I don't know if they'll be a wild card team, but I definitely see them they're going to be in that mix.
The Minnesota Wild, there's going to be two things that's going to happen. Either A, they're going to somehow squeak in with 95, 100 points, or B, they're going to be at 82 or 84. They're not going to be in the in-between range, I think. This is a team where they're either going to get in or they're going to completely whiff and just miss out. Right?
I mean, they kind of were in the conversation for a good part of the year. Towards the end of the season, they kind of fell off. I think they missed the playoffs by around 10, 15 points.
I think they had 80 points to 84.
They didn't have a bad year. I mean, they're still developing. They're clearly not a cup contender right now. So this year, $14 million, $14.7 million in dead cap from Ryan Suter and Zach Parise, and then next year goes down with 1.6. So you're getting an extra $13 million in cap space next year.
They're gonna go crazy with it.
Yeah, well, I think the priority number one next summer has to be getting Kaprizov signed to a long-term deal. Has to be priority number one.
How much money do we think he gets a year? Because he's going to get an 8-year deal, but
I don't know if he'll sign an 8-year deal. I'm sure they'll offer it. I can see him getting around $10, $11 million.
Ooh, $10 million I think is the sweet spot for Kaprizov.
Yeah.
I'm off the boat of overpaying players now with the cap going up dramatically the next couple years.
When you have a player like Kirill Kaprizov, you pay him what he deserves.
And he's already making $9 million right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's your best player. He had 96 points last year at 75 games. You do whatever you can to keep him around. I remember before he signed this this contract he's playing on now, there was a lot of talk about whether he was going to go back to Russia or not. You know, and they weren't sure if he was going to sign that long-term deal. He did end up signing it. But I think Kirill is an awesome player, and the Wild need to do whatever they can to keep him around long-term.
Next up, I want to talk about some teams that could surprise us. And honestly, I've given this a little bit of thought. One team that I have in my two. Yeah, I'm going to go 3 teams I have in mind, okay? So A, Washington Capitals, St. Louis Blues, and the Chicago Blackhawks.
I don't know. There's rumors that Oshie might not be back next year.
Yeah, he might honestly be done.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of pretty bad injuries.
I guess, well, Oshie came out and said that at some days, like, he tried to get out of bed, he couldn't move. Like, his back was, like, in excruciating pain. And he needed his teammates to tie his skates or something like that. It was that bad at some points. Kind of crazy. Feel bad for the dude, but he's 36 years old. Like, I mean, at some point, your body just
he's
says,
dealing with back injuries, especially late 30s. I can't imagine that's fun.
It's over.
Especially for like hockey, where you get bumped and you get hit a lot, and your back kind of can take a beating. But yeah, Washington to me is a team. Like, what do you mean by surprise us?
Surprise,
like being like top 3 in the Metro, or
I'd say 4th in the Metro.
So being like, do you have them as a wild card team?
Yes.
I think they could compete for a wild card team. I still don't think they could do anything outside of being a first round exit, though.
I think they'd be first round exit, but this team mightily overperformed last season. Somehow got in. They had the tiebreaker over Detroit.
The story of last season was Charlie Lindgren, and Ovi had like a resurgence in the second half of the year.
Ovi at one point had like 18 goals in like a 26 game span or something.
He the back half of the season he was starting to look like himself again, and in the playoffs he's like, these goals don't count towards the record. I don't care. I want to go home.
No, I respect it. Ovechkin after every game drinks 2 to 3 beers. So
I remember the Washington had a game in Buffalo, and I saw on Twitter like these fans were at like I don't remember what soccer team. He's a really big fan of a team in the Premier League.
Okay.
And like they got into Buffalo. Sometimes the teams get in like a day before the game, and they spend the night there, and they usually let the players go out like in a city that's probably not Las Vegas, but I guess Ovi just showed up to the bar and he was just drinking and watching the game, and people noticed him, and it was just, I heard he was like really chill. He was just drinking beer, watching some soccer, took pictures with people. It's like, yeah, that dude's just chilling right now. He's got his cup, he's got his legacy. He's just trying to break that record. I respect it though.
Yeah.
Like I got no issues with that. You know, Ovi, in my opinion, is the best goal scorer of all time, and you know, what a legend. The night before a game, just going out drinking, watching some soccer, chilling. Just
one of the boys.
And then they got their ass kicked the next day.
He looks like an old average regular dude though. Like he doesn't look like a guy that's about to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring record, which is nuts. And speaking of soccer, I just found this out today. Ovechkin played in a professional soccer game.
I mean, Putin played in a professional hockey game.
That's fair.
It was it like a celebrity game?
I have no idea. I scrolled on Instagram for 2 seconds. All it goes is I saw a clip of Ovechkin playing soccer, and the caption was Ovechkin is a professional soccer player.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's
whether
cool.
it was professional or whether it was being satire and he was asking the question if he should go pro. Whether I'm probably wrong, it was probably some like just.
I'm sure he's not bad at soccer. I mean, he's a professional athlete. You know, most of those people are pretty good at like, just about everything they do, and you know he's a soccer fan, so I'm assuming he plays for fun every once in a while. But I mean, I'm assuming it was in a Russian soccer league.
So
yeah, I mean, I have a feeling like if you're a Russian team and Ovi's like, "Can I play?" and he's like, "Yeah, you can play."
Bro has the keys to the country.
Yeah, he's like a national hero there.
Oh my God, yeah, I would look up to him if I was a Russian kid. But yeah, the Washington Capitals goaltending with Lindgren and Thompson, I think is going to be really, really good. It's going to be a 1A, 1B type of situation. But everybody that is kind of doubting this goaltender situation, come back to me in April when they single-handedly get the Capitals into the playoffs. Thank you.
I mean, I do like. The Capitals also took a pretty big risk on bringing in Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Very.
I mean, but if he pays off, your top 2 centers are Pierre-Luc Dubois and Dylan Strome. That's pretty good. You know, I think Strome had a really awesome year. He was another big reason too why the Capitals made the playoffs last year. He was really great as their first line center. You know, but you are taking a pretty big risk bringing in Pierre-Luc Dubois. 7 years left on his contract, 8.5. And if he plays like he did on the Kings last year, good luck getting rid of that contract.
This is PLD is going to be, okay, you're not getting rid of this contract. That always suck on your team. Or, great, he's put up 55, 60 points as your second-line center, and you're in business. The second team I had, the Chicago Blackhawks. The reason they're my surprise is because, A, Connor Bedard going into his second season, hopefully stays with the fish bowl, and he stays completely healthy.
He's not going to wear a fish bowl next year.
Knock on wood. I don't know what it is with Connor Bedard and fish bowls. And
he had a broken jaw.
No, I know, but even after a heel, he wore it the entire season. And he put up over a point per game in the fish bowl.
I don't think he'll be wearing a fish bowl next year.
I think he should. I don't know if he will or not, but I think he should.
I don't think he will be.
And they also went out and got a few guys in free agency. They got the Teravainen they got in free agency. They got Tyler Bertuzzi.
Mm-hmm.
I know this guy isn't going to make a huge difference, but Alec Martinez, a 36-year-old defenseman.
I think he's still a solid defenseman. He's a really good shot blocker. I think he might have the NHL record for the most shot blocks in a career. He's like a pure defensive player. He can also, play probably power play too, but he's more of a defensive specialist. But I think he's kind of there to help mentor some of the younger players they have there. They have some young defensemen like Kevin Korchinski. I think he's more of like a mentor. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. Mm-hmm. He's been around the league for a while. He's definitely that veteran leadership role.
This Chicago Blackhawks team is slowly building a great core, especially on defense, too. I do like their defense. I like what they're doing on front. However, though, defense with Seth Jones, now I get he's not worth what he's getting made. But he was better last season. He was better.
It was hard to be great on that team last year. I mean, he had 31 points, minus 15.
Only a minus 15.
Yeah, but I mean, can you see him putting up more than 40 points next year?
No, but I think he should transition into a role of, I think he's a bigger defenseman, so maybe more of a big body guy.
That's not his game, though.
I know it's not his game. He's always been a puck-moving defenseman, but at some point, you got to understand it's not working out and just... Now, if you try to change everything and it's not working out, go back to however you do. But at the end of the day, though, play to how you want to play and how comfortable you are.
I mean, they're paying him $9.5 million to, be their number one defenseman.
And to put up points.
Yeah, I mean, he's an offensive defenseman. That's what he should be doing. I mean, 30 points is not good enough.
It's not going to cut it.
I mean, I get they're really bad, and especially last year with all the injuries they had, any players that they had that could score were pretty much missed significant time. Taylor Hall missed almost all of last season. Connor Bedard missed some games. I really do like bringing in Teravainen and Bertuzzi. I'm excited to see what Connor Bedard can do for the full year. Hopefully Taylor Hall stays healthy this year. I think that'd be really cool to see Bedard and Taylor Hall playing on this line together. But what way did you say they were going to surprise you? They were surprised me not being bottom 5.
They would surprise me being bottom 5, but also they'll be surprising because I think they'll be over 500.
That is a bold take right there.
I think the Chicago Blackhawks will have 82 plus points. Actually, 83 plus points this season.
That is crazy.
All right, when I say plus points, I'm not talking about they might get 89. 83 to 85 points I think they'll get.
So you think they're going to have a winning record?
Correct.
That's bold. That's bold. I think they're probably in the 30 range for wins. They're going to be better than they were last year. It's hard to be worse.
Unless if they're worse, they're doing something wrong.
knock on wood. Unless their whole team gets injured again this year, it's going to be hard to get worse. But I still think they're a bottom feeder. They definitely got better. I could see them being bottom 10 instead of bottom 5 this year. But I don't see them sniffing 500. If they had a winning record, literally everything would have to go right, and Connor Bedard's having over 100
Connor Bedard
points.
might get 100 points.
He could.
I remember in last season, people were talking about he's going to get 100 points in his rookie year. I'm like, dude, that's not happening.
I think the last rookie to do that might have been...
Was it Timu? No, Crosby, Ovi.
It was Crosby and Ovi, yeah.
I am convinced that if McDavid did not break his collarbone in his rookie season, he would have gotten over 100 points in his rookie season. I don't think so. I think he would have been the 80s or the 90s. I don't think he was going to get over 100. That's fair. And the last team, the St. Louis Blues, I'm not being a homer with this one. They had 90 points last season. The roster didn't really change much. They're going to have good seasons from Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, and I think Jordan Binnington will continue his play from last season. The good thing about not Robert Thomas, Jordan Binnington last season was they didn't throw many temper tantrums, and he actually played good hockey for the first time since the Stanley Cup run.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad goalie by any means, Binnington. I mean, yeah, he did have a pretty decent year last year. 284 goals against, 913 save percentage. His best season since that cup run. Mm-hmm. I mean, Binnington definitely wasn't the issue last year. They did make like a mid-season coaching change. Their defense is pretty old though,
It's the oldest in the league.
There's still rumors going around that Torrey Krug might be done. Like
completely from hockey or just in St. Louis?
Really?
Done. Really?
I heard he might have to have some kind of surgery. Like I don't know. I think it might have been his knee or something. I don't know. You can look that up real quick if you want to check.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he might be done. Like he might have to be forced to retire due to this injury. I think he might be waiting, and maybe he's trying to rehab it. Yeah, I would just look up like Torrey Krug injury.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm a huge fan of Jake Neighbors. I think Kapanen's a good depth guy. I know he's kind of fallen off a cliff since really being in Pittsburgh. Oscar Sundqvist, great player. They're not going to put up a ton of goals because this team doesn't have a ton of firepower. But they're going to have to be carried, though, by their goaltending and by their top guns. Robert Thomas is going to put up 80-plus points, I'd assume same with Kyrou. And, I mean, outside of that, though, you're not going to have a ton of guys that are really contributing. You go out and get Matthew Joseph this offseason, got a middle six guy. Nathan Walker, I think he's all right, 30 years old, going to be in and out of the lineup. So this team somehow got to 90 points last season. They might surprise me by getting to that 90-point range or getting to the 92-point range. Now, is there a world where this team completely overperformed last season and hit a stretch of hockey?
I think they kind of choked last year. I mean, they had a chance with to be in that conversation for wild card 2 with Vegas. They had a game against Vegas where they could have got back into the conversation. They got blown out, and then they kind of fell apart for the rest of the year.
Seemed like that kind of killed their team morale.
I mean, losing that game pretty much sunk their season, but
there was I know there was a game too where they lost in. I think they might have had a game where they lost in overtime to Vegas late in the season too. And then that was like if they won the game, they'd be tied. If they lost it in overtime or regulation, it would be
they kind of fell apart after that.
Yeah,
though. Yeah, they had a
that
couple
wasn't great.
Late game matchup, late season matchups.
The Torrey Krug one, he was diagnosed with pre-arthritic changes in his left ankles, and he's out indefinitely at the moment.
Yeah. I remember when that came out. He might have to retire because of that. I mean, I hope he can come back and be healthy. That does not sound fun having arthritis in your ankles.
Bro can barely walk.
Yeah, especially ankles are pretty important, in just about everything.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So a team that I think might be, if not the worst team in the league this season, the Calgary Flames.
They're not that bad.
Yes, they do. Come on. I think the Calgary Flames might be lucky to get 23 wins.
Huberdeau is going to have a renaissance season.
Shut up. You shut up right now. He's
going to have 100 points again. Kadri's going to be 80s, 90s.
Their only bright spot is Andrei Kuzmenko, and he didn't play great for them after he got traded last season. No, I think he did play great. Yeah, I think I had that backwards.
Don't think Calgary is. I really don't know how to describe this team right now because they're definitely not trying to lose. They're not trying to tank, but I don't think a lot of people really want to play for the Flames right now. I don't know. Especially with how they handled the Jacob Markstrom trade, which I don't think they handled it well. They got to get him out of there. I mean, this is kind of a team in limbo right now because I don't think they're bad enough to be a lottery team, and they're definitely not good enough to be a playoff team. And they're mid. This roster is mid. You can do worse, but you can definitely do better. I mean, this team kind of fell apart after they made that Matthew Tkachuk trade. They thought I remember when that trade happened, and everyone was saying Calgary won the trade.
They were saying that, what is Bill Zito doing in Florida? And look what happened.
Because, I mean, I like Mackenzie Weegar. I think he's a good defenseman. I think he's been probably the best piece that came over for Calgary in that trade.
Easily.
Huberdeau is just not a good fit on that team at all, and they're paying him $10.5 million a year.
It doesn't help, though, too, that Matthew Tkachuk leaves Goudreau leaves. And here is Huberdeau stuck with. Although at the time they still had like Lindholm, they still had Zadorov, and obviously Markstrom. And the start of last season, they had those three guys, and the team like
Well, they all asked for trades.
I don't get why this team like was so bad last season. Like
They lack an
on paper,
I think
they're good.
they lack an identity right now. I mean, Huberdeau,
Yes.
52 points, 81 games. Worse than his first season in Calgary. I still don't know why Kadri signed with the Flames. Maybe that was the highest amount of money he was going to get offered. You know, he had a good year, 75 points, 82 games. Probably the best player on that Flames team right now, forward-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I'm sure there would be a lot of people, willing to trade for him. But, $7 million for a 33-year-old power forward, that might be hard to move. Igor Sharangovich, he was a bright spot in that team last year, 59 points. He came over to trade with the Devils. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league, and I think he's going to be an important part of the Flames' future.
This team, on paper, should not be bad, but the fact they are this bad, they will be the worst team in the league, I think. And who knows? Maybe they won't. Maybe
they're not that bad.
Yes,
they're not going to be.
come on.
They're not going to be the worst. You
Come on.
You think they're worse than the Ducks and the Sharks?
Yes. I think they will be worse, okay?
Dude, what's with you and like these crazy takes today,
This isn't a crazy take.
They're not going to be that bad.
This is not me just saying this for content. I truly believe this. If we were off camera, I would say the same exact thing.
Okay, let me go through some teams that I think will definitely be worse than the Flames next year. The Blue Jackets. I think Chicago still might be worse than them. San Jose. Anaheim. I think Philly could be worse than them. Seattle might. Montreal. They're definitely not the worst team in the league.
I'm checking. I want to see how many points they finished with last season. I think it was in the high 70s. Okay, so they finished with 81 points last season. Okay, so I might be a little bit dumb for saying this.
I mean, losing Markstrom does hurt because he actually had a pretty good year with the Flames last year.
I mean, they were practically 500. They were tied with Seattle. Anaheim and San Jose at 59 and 47 points respectively. Chicago 52. I think Utah will be much better. Columbus 66. Okay, so if Calgary doesn't finish last place, I think they will finish bottom 5 for sure.
I could see them being bottom 5 at worst. They're just mid. They're mid.
If Calgary ends up, let's say they finish bottom 5, the teams that will be worse than them, Anaheim, San Jose, and Columbus, I think, will be the only teams worse than them. I think Montreal's gotten better, and Seattle.
This right now, I know we're not talking about the Ducks. I think the Ducks might be the worst team in the league next year.
The Ducks might be the worst, really? I know you're super low on the Ducks.
I am super low on the Ducks. They're they've been drafting low for years, and they haven't gotten better.
They haven't had a first overall pick since they've became this bad stretch in the past few years, right? No, they haven't had a first overall pick.
No, they have not. I mean, they got fucked over. They lost Connor Bedard. They get what's his name? Shit.
Last season? I mean, this.
No, the guy they drafted second overall last year.
Leo Carlson?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. They have a ton of really good young players, but this team can't seem to put it together. And then if you want any veterans to come up, they're paying Alex Killorn $6.25.
Killorn just robbed money from them.
Ryan Strome, they're paying $5 million a year. Brad Kogutis, $4 million. They keep trying to trade Job Gibson. Nobody wants him because they still value him as an elite goalie. He hasn't been elite in years.
He hasn't been elite since 2019.
That's not all his fault because this team is dog shit. But the Ducks are another team I think that lacks identity. Could they get better? Could all these young players pan out? I mean, Mason McTavish, I like Cutter Gauthier. Who knows what he ends up. Trevor Zegras was horrible last year. I know he missed a good amount of time with injuries, but 15 points, 31 games. He might end up being one of the weirdest players to ever be on the cover of an NHL game.
He also, the thing with Trevor Zegras last season is he missed 50 games with an injuries.
Yeah.
But also, like, he was holding out in training camp last season because of contract issues. So he also didn't get that full training camp of preparation. I think last season was a complete, total outlier in his career. I believe it was
He was on the trading block this summer.
And here we are. He's so... I don't... This the stuff that I don't really understand with the trading block and news and rumors and everything. We've seen it with Martin Necas. We've seen it with Zegras, John Gibson. Some random people decide.
The Ducks have these players on the trade block, and then they never really trade them.
Dude, and it's crazy because Trevor Zegras, they're like, okay, we're not going to pay you like a superstar, but we're going to put you on a trading block and try to trade you like a superstar. You can only do one. If you look at him,
teams don't value him as a superstar. He's a great player. He can do a lot of flashy stuff. But I don't think he's a superstar.
He's not a superstar. He's a really good player.
Yeah, he's like a good second-line player.
Like, he can prove us wrong and be like, I'm going to put up...
I mean, he might have some of the best hands in the league. Like, I'm not going to deny that. He's really good at doing, like, crazy trick plays. But does that translate to, like, 90-point seasons?
Not really. Got to be smart up here. You got to know where the puck is.
But you also got to stay on the ice.
That is also true. But I think Trevor Zegras will have a much better season. He has to have a bounce-back season. But yeah, the Ducks, if you want to trade a player, you have to value him a certain way. Either value him like a superstar and pay him like a superstar, or
then they trade Anaheim Ducks and they get a first-round pick for him. So
you listen, that has to be the Ducks' pitch. Be like, listen, we got Adam Henrique, first-round pick, okay? Give us like 3 first.
Yeah, but Adam Henrique's like a proven veteran center.
All right, we're here. Anyways, yeah, the Ducks. They could be really, really bad. If they're better, but worse than the Flames, I wouldn't be shocked. I want us to react to the top 10 best contracts per The Athletic going into the 2024 season.
And we'll go up to 1.
Yeah, that works for me. Because they have their current contract to what their projected value is from their performance. Okay, so number 10, Matt Boldy. Annual average is $7 million. What he's making. The projected value, $11 million. I kind of agree with this. I mean, he put up.
We were just talking about him. I love Matt Boldy. He's a great player. I think $7 million on a long-term deal. He had 69 points last year. He's only going to get better.
He's going to be better.
I could see him being like an 80, 90-point player in this league. He's only 23, and they got him locked up for what was it? 6 more years. Like, yeah, this contract's going to age gracefully. It's going to age like fine wine. This is a great contract.
Number 9. We have Quinn Hughes, 7.9 he's making right now, projected value 14.7. I think this should be a little bit higher. The fact that he's only making 7.9, just coming off a Norris Trophy winning season, he should be in the top 5 in my opinion, but I'm glad he's at least on this list.
You also have to take into account like term left in the contract as well, because he's only got 3 more years left on this term, which is still really, you're getting Quinn Hughes for 3 more years at less than $8 million a year. So you have to take that and take some kind of account. But, man, when that contract's up, if he keeps playing like this, he's going to get, what, like $14 million a year, 13?
I mean, he's probably going to get 13.
He's like the new Erik Karlsson.
Number 8, we have Zach Hyman at 5.5 right now, making a projected value is $11.3 million, has 4 more years left on the contract. Again, I think it should be a little bit higher, 50-plus goals. Although, we'll get into a little bit later. Maybe I'm being hypocritical of what I just said with my list. But
yeah, so Hyman, I think he's a perfect fit for the Oilers team. He can get the greasy goals that they like. He can play on a line with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. He can just stand in front of the net and like cash in rebounds, which is how he scored most of his goals last year. And he is 32 years old. I remember when this contract was signed, and everyone was laughing at the Oilers for giving him that much money for that long a term. And I remember Maple Leafs fans like, you're giving him that much money? Good luck. And then he had 81 points last year and 46 goals. And now they're like, can you come back, please? But no, yeah, he's a great player. I think he'll probably cool down a little bit next year, but he's a perfect fit for that Oilers team.
Number 7, we have Nathan MacKinnon. He's making 12.6 at the moment. Projected value $16.5 million.
That's funny that one of the highest paid players in the league is considered one of the best contracts in the league.
Listen, okay, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I went through this list briefly. They don't have the best player in the NHL on this list, by the way.
Well, he has 1 year left on his contract.
That's fair. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, Nathan MacKinnon, though, I mean, The dude could probably make $15 million right now.
I
Easily.
mean, they project him to be worth $16.5 million.
So it's even nuttier.
I mean, he's in the prime of his career. He had 127 points last year, one MVP. I mean, what can't this
The second best player in the league.
what can't this guy do?
He can do everything. He plays defense too.
Yeah, no, he's one of the most complete players in the league. He's also he's so fast too. I think the only player that might be there's only 2 players in the league I think that might be faster than him: Connor McDavid and Dylan Larkin.
Yes. Number 6, we have Matthew Tkachuk. He's making 9.5 at the moment. Projected value is $14.1 million. Again, fine on here. I think his playoff performances gone underlooked. I mean, excuse me, they have been looked at, but also his regular season performance, that is what I think has been underlooked. He put up 97 points last season, so close to 100.
Matthew Tkachuk is the reason why the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Like, they're the reason they even made it to the final last year. He completely changed that organization because before he got there, they were kind of a joke in the league. I know they had a couple good years here and there. They won the President's Trophy and then got their ass kicked in the second round by the Lightning, fired their coach. Everyone was like calling him crazy. They make this huge trade for Matthew Tkachuk, and who's laughing now?
Stanley Cup champions are, that's for sure.
You know, back-to-back Eastern Conference champions, Stanley Cup champions this year. You know, I think they compete for a Stanley Cup again next year. They still have the core in place. Matthew Tkachuk, he's what a lot of people call a unicorn because he can do everything. He can score fancy goals. He has good hands. He's not afraid to do the dirty things in the corner. I mean, he could be a little bit dirty sometimes, but, you know, he can do literally everything.
Physical guy. Love him.
Great leader. Yeah. I think you could consider him underpaid pretty much any value just for what he brings to your locker room.
Entering our top 5 is Josh Morrissey. He's making 6.3 right now. Projected value 12.6 for the next 4 seasons.
Josh Morrissey is a player I don't think gets enough buzz. You kind of have to really watch him. He does a lot of the little things really well, and he's a really good power play quarterback, really good offensive skill. But he's pretty good at playing defense too. Like I said, really good attention to detail. Never really out of position. He always makes the smart play.
When he signed his current contract, everybody was asking, what are the Jets doing? Well, this is what they're doing. He's a top 5 defenseman in the league.
I don't know. Top 5 might be stretching it, but he's definitely
10?
top 10.
Okay, that's fair.
He's the best defenseman on the Jets.
Number 4, we have Adam Fox. He's making 9.5 at the moment. His projected value is $15 million.
That's
interesting.
A little high to me.
Does it seem a little high, though? He's really good.
I know.
Top 4 defenseman in the league.
I mean, he's a Norris Trophy winner in the past, too. I thought he had a bit of a down year last year, honestly.
Which is crazy because he was still really good.
I mean, I know he was playing through some injuries in the playoffs because he did not look like himself in the playoffs.
No.
Like at all. Especially in the conference final. He did not look right.
I know he took a knee to knee or leg to leg in the first round, and he played right through that. He was playing on like one leg, basically.
Nashville Predators legend Adam Fox.
Number 3, entering our top 3, we have Miro Heiskanen, 8.5 he's making at the moment, and projected value is $14.4 million. I'm perfectly fine with him being in the top 3.
Yeah, Miro Heiskanen is awesome. I mean, he's another defenseman. I love how we're just being positive here because this should be a thing we're being positive about.
Yes.
Because this is mostly underrated players. I don't think Miro Heiskanen gets as much love as he should. I don't feel like Dallas as a whole gets a lot of love as they should. I know they're in Texas and kind of a weird hockey market, but they should get more love from around the league. They have one of the best teams in the league, in my opinion. A lot of really great players, really good value contracts. I mean, Miro Heiskanen, that kid's a stud.
Moving on here to number 2, we have Jack Hughes. Should be number 1, but he's making $8 million of projected value of $14.1 million.
I think if Jack Hughes didn't get hurt last year, I think there's a real chance he could have won MVP last year.
I'm with you. We were talking about it early in the season about this dude winning MVP. He had like 17 points in the first 9 games
to start the year
like
last year. He was insane. You couldn't stop him. You know, I remember like when I go to Sabres games where we're playing the Devils, like I get nervous when Jack Hughes is on the ice because he can do everything. He's so fast. He's so dynamic. He can shoot. He has such good hands. I remember when he signed that contract, though, and everyone was laughing at the Devils. Like, you're giving him $8 million a year for 8 years? What are you doing, New Jersey? Like, he's not that good. And then he had like a 99-point season, and then everyone shut up immediately. I don't get why people are so quick to judge these contracts for these young players. Like, they might look bad at first, but they're signing them with the long term in mind. Like, okay, we know you're going to be great, so we're just going to pay you now, so we don't have to pay you $12 million a year.
I kind of agree with that. A team pays a contract 8 year by $8 million. Okay, shut up about it. If he sucks in 3-4 years, whatever, rip on the team then.
Yeah, especially for like these young players coming off ELCs. Like, these teams know what they're doing. Most of the time when these young players sign these long-term deals, they end up aging well.
Exactly. And the number one contract they have, Gustav Forsling, $5.8 million, 11.4 projected value. I'm fine with him being on this list. I think one is a tad too high. I think they're taking into his playoff performance because he had a hell of a playoffs.
Oh, yeah, he's another big reason why the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Is he the greatest waiver claim of all time?
Oh, my God, he is. I remember when them signing Gustav Forsling for this contract, they were taking a risk here. Like, no. This contract is one of the best in the league. But,
yeah.
But I think Jack Hughes is above this. And I think Quinn Hughes is. I think you could put Gustav 3 or 4. Top 5 for sure.
I mean, you have to take into account where you're at. I mean, he's only getting $5.8 million a year for 8 years.
Yep.
For like
they signed it before last season.
A shutdown defenseman. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you have to. I think that's kind of a no-brainer for number one. He's getting paid less than $6 million a year.
He is.
Like, I know Jack Hughes is awesome, but he's getting paid more, like $2 million more than him, and it's hard to find shutdown defensemen.
I mean, I can see where they're coming from, and a shutdown defenseman that was over a half a point per game too.
Yeah, he's an awesome player. I mean, I don't really have many issues with this list. I think it's pretty well put together.
Top 10 left wingers I have.
Are these in numbered order?
Yes. Okay. So bottoms 10, tops 1.
Okay.
Honorable mentions: Brad Marchand, Nikolai Ehlers, and Alex Ovechkin.
You think Ovechkin's the top 13 winger in the league right now?
I could not find another left winger that was better than him to throw in there.
Okay.
All right. Number 10, Kyle Connor. Number 9, Brady Tkachuk. Number 8, Clayton Keller. Number 7, Jason Robertson. Number 6, Kirill Kaprizov. Number 5, Philip Forsberg. 4, Steven Stamkos. 3, Matthew Tkachuk. 2, Jake Gensel. And number 1, Artemi Panarin.
I'm not going to debate your number 1 with Panarin. He's a superstar. I would put Tkachuk at 2.
Ooh, okay.
Gensel's a great player, but I think Gensel might end up having more points than Tkachuk. But Tkachuk, I think, is just the overall. But he brings more to a team than Gensel. Gensel's a pure he's a goal scorer, offensive guy. Tkachuk can do everything. He's like I said, he's a unicorn. I would put Stamkos maybe a little bit lower. I would have Kaprizov a little bit higher on the list. It's hard to argue with the bottom of the list. I think, Jason Robertson's awesome. Clayton Keller, really underrated player in the league. Hopefully he'll get a little bit more attention shined on him now that he's out of Arizona. Brady Tkachuk, free my mans. Free him.
Bro needs to get out of Ottawa.
And Kyle Connor is also another very underrated player. I feel like he doesn't maybe get as much as love because he's in Winnipeg. And, outside of Canada, I can't imagine a lot of American fans watch a lot of Jets games unless they're a Jets fan or their team's playing the Jets.
Overall, though, there were a couple things with this list. Clayton Keller was last second. Well, I don't want to say last second ad, but I was trying to figure out where to throw him because he is a really good offensive guy. And same Kaprizov, I was him or Forsberg. You could probably throw Kaprizov up over Forsberg, but that's kind of my thinking with it. But yeah, Kaprizov probably should be in the top 5 now that I'm thinking out loud with it.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad list by any means.
Definitely, the center list was 1,000% better. From what I'm hearing.
Centers are the franchise players. Most franchise forwards are usually centers.
And they're sick. Thank you guys for staying for the entire episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, head over to our social media, TikTok, Instagram, as well as subscribe to the YouTube page. Check out our Discord. We talk nothing but hockey and other sports as well. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you guys in the next episode.